Hey everyone, and welcome to my Section 3 screencast blog. So this week we looked a lot at instructional theories and theorists, but our main thing that we were looking at was from our perspective, or from my perspective as a teacher, evaluate the role of game and play theory in instructional design and how it can kind of play a role in the 21st century classroom. So first of all, just, our basic role as a teacher, it's changing from, the presentation of information to the design of learning processes, environments, and experiences. So it's kind of evolving. And so we need to make sure that our learning experiences that we create, they should be active in ways that kind of maximize that student engagement in kind of we need to design instructional experiences that make students acquisition of knowledge and competency kind of more effective, efficient, and appealing to them. So make it interesting for them and really incorporate technology to help them learn. So when we are doing our lessons and our games and that sort of thing, we need to make sure that our students are participating in active learning. So they should really be active, talking and interacting with others, generating new ideas, and kind of determining their own direction, solving their own problems. So there's a lot of different types of active learning. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there's a lot of different types. A lot of them involve working in small groups, giving those students a problem to understand and solve, and really having them collaborate with each other and work together um, to promote that active learning. Um, we also want students to be engaged. It's essential to have those students engaged in the learning activity. Disengaged students, you can tell, are those that present off-task behaviors and kind of negative emotions. They don't want to be there. Whereas engaged students, show high interest in and they're attentive and focused on the learning activities and tasks. Having that emotional engagement is key um, because it'll help them retain more information and that sort of thing. Dr. Cantu liked this graphic of different active learning strategies. I'll definitely be using that. But now going more into kind of the game and play theory and how we can use it. It's really important to understand the difference between playing a game and being at play. A game could be mandated by a teacher for students to play the game without ever being at play. All games can have learning value, but we need to kind of focus on seeing them as experiences, not instruction. So, use the games that you're playing and kind of use what students are already playing so they have a background knowledge and kind of get them into that deep engagement and thinking processes and that sort of thing. We can define at play as doing an activity that, one wants to do. So your students kind of want to do it. They do it voluntarily. If they have extra time, they'll ask, Miss Thompson, can I go play that game? And that's motivating. Um, it doesn't require you to get something out of it. It's done actively, and students can be fully absorbed in the activity, and that's what we want. So, just a few keys for successful learning games. You need to make sure that learning is goal oriented. It should be active and interactive. Learning should provide adaptive challenge and support. So don't just like give them the answers. Have them have problems and scenarios in the game that will help them and support them, but really have them solve that problem on their own. And then also, learning should incorporate feedback. Give them that feedback, just like in every other scenario with teaching. You need to make sure that your students are getting positive or negative feedback, but just letting them know, and then really use kind of those inaccuracies to drive inquiry. Keep students accountable throughout. So, like, have them keep score or jot down their answers, that sort of thing. Um, and then afterwards, regroup, talk about what they liked, what they didn't like, explain kind of how the game compares to what they're learning in class, and how it kind of can compare to reality and that sort of thing. So then just like kind of going off of this, so in my classroom, for those of you that don't know, I teach sixth grade special education. Um, and I found that using games in my class is, I do it almost every day. I want to make sure that, those my kids are really having fun while they're learning. So, like I said, I use games often in my class. I use them as kind of supplemental instruction. So, I always kind of teach the lesson first, and then use the games for my students to practice their skills. Um, and I found that works really well. They know that if they pay attention and they are really focused during their lesson, then they know what comes next. Um, so I like to incorporate technology into a lot of my games. Um, they love Kahoot, they love Quizlet Live, they love GimKit, they love Prodigy. Um, all of those are really great games that I found. And then I also, with my curriculum that I have for math, I put down there that I tend to play a lot more math games, which is true. Um, but with my curriculum for math, it comes with a game, which I thought was interesting. And so a lot of the times I can use those games as well. And those are more board game sort of games, which I like. And my kids really seem to enjoy them. And like they said, games are littered with creativity. There's nothing wrong with play and fun. It gives them that practical knowledge. Um, and allows them to take risks, which I think is important. Um, so I overall, I love to incorporate games and play into my room. And I really think it's helpful to my students to retain information, and it's enjoyable for them. So that's my take on the game and play. So I can't wait to hear your guys's.